I used to think getting coaching clients was hard until I discovered a simple routine that makes getting clients easy. And I know this works because I use this routine myself and it scaled my business to £50,000 a month. So in this video, I'll show you what the exact 4 steps from this routine are and how you can use them to grow your business fast. But before I show you these 4 steps, I have to tell you a story about Cully. So when Cully first hired me, his coaching business was stuck doing around 1 to 2K a month. Now, Cully was a great coach, my favorite type of client to work with, one of those clients that just does what you ask because he trusts in what you say. But the problem was he had a boatload of client testimonials, but no matter what he tried, he just couldn't seem to get new clients through the door. So on one of our first calls, I asked him, Cully, what do your mornings look like? And his answer might sound painfully familiar because every single day, Cully would wake up, get ready, and hit the gym. He loved it. And he told me it was his favorite part of the day, his way of feeling productive before even opening the laptop. But by the time he got home after spending 2 hours prepping, training, and commuting, absolutely he felt great. But then he'd spend the rest of the day tinkering around with his workshop or advertising his next kind of retreat. But here's the big problem. This phase of his life, the most important thing he was trying to optimize was his business, not his body. And that's why he hired me. So on our next call, I just asked him, Cully, what would happen if you just flipped your routine entirely? What if just for a couple of weeks, you skip the gym first thing in the morning and you use those few hours of the day for the stuff that you usually delay, like the real deep, meaningful work? Now, at first, he wasn't exactly jumping for joy because he loves the gym and it was his play, he used to tell me. But like I said, he was a great client, so he agreed. And here's what happened in the couple of weeks that followed. Cully would get up straight away and start doing the deep work. By the end of those 2 weeks, guess what happened? Cully had signed 3 brand new clients, more than he'd managed in the whole of the previous month. He then went on to do his first £12,000 month in the second month of working with us. And this was before he'd even paid the investment to work with us off. The only reason why this worked so well is because Cully focused on better optimizing the first phase of this 4-step system. And this is called the golden window. Now, this is so important because studies show that your brain is actually the sharpest first thing in the morning, and your willpower is also highest first thing in the morning too. That's why during this time, first thing in the morning, we need to be focusing on what I call HLAs. And all that stands for is high leverage activities. These are the activities that actually grow the business and make it move in the right direction. So when I'm talking about HLAs, I want you to think about creating content, building offers, writing content, or scripting content. These are your HLAs. These are the things that are going to move the business forward. Now, after Cully started smashing those HLAs first thing in the morning, he felt like a machine because he was getting more done by 10 a.m. than he used to in an entire day. But then something weird started happening. By late morning, Cully's focus would start to fade and he'd find himself rereading the same email over and over, or staring at his screen, or endlessly kind of just reaching for his phone on autopilot. Now, he'd try and push through thinking that sheer willpower would sort him right out, but his brain felt foggy and his energy started lagging. And here's the thing, he's not alone. I see this with almost every single coach that I work with. You can start the day off strong, riding that early wave of momentum. But by late morning or midday, your output just drops off a cliff and you get distracted, you lose momentum. The rest of the day, it just feels like a slog. So what's going on here and why does your productivity crash even when you do everything right first thing in the morning? Well, let me give you an analogy to really drive this home. I want you to imagine that you're a Formula One driver on race day. You explode off the starting line, overtaking everyone, hitting top speeds. But then lap after lap, you decide not to stop. You ignore every sign from the pit crew and you just keep going. But slowly your tires, they start to wear down and your engine starts to overheat. And every lap, it just seems to get harder and harder. But by the time you finally notice, it's too late because you're already out of the race. Well, this happens because it doesn't matter how strong your start was. Without a pit stop, you never stand a chance. Business is exactly the same. That's exactly what happens when you don't have a deliberate reset built into your day. And this is where phase 2 comes into play. Now, phase 2 is called the energy anchor. Now, this isn't just a break or about grabbing another coffee while endlessly scrolling through Instagram. It's your pit stop. And this is a time for you to be intentional and rest up and recharge. So what does this look like specifically? And how can you implement it yourself? Well, it's pretty simple, but I want to kind of just make sure that you're allowing yourself 45 to 75 minutes. Now, for you, you could be going to the gym in that time. You could be going for a walk. You could be doing some journaling. You could be doing some breath work. Whatever works for you. For me, I tend to eat something healthy and then train in the gym. But even if you're super productive in the morning and then you reset by midday, there's another window of opportunity to get clients, and it's actually even more powerful. But what is it? Well, this is the part that I see so many coaches hit a brick wall. And you probably know the feeling. You look at your to-do list and suddenly it's a mix of random admin, a boatload of half-finished content, and you're not entirely sure what to tackle next. This can be the part of the day where you can feel like you're busy, but you're not actually sure if you're moving in the right direction. And this is where most people tend to get stuck. But I can tell you why this is. So let me put it this way. Have you ever seen the film The Wolf of Wall Street? What a great film, by the way. And if you've ever seen it, then you'll know that Jordan Belfort didn't get an empire just by sitting quietly at his desk, journaling, or thinking about doing things. When did he really get stuff done? Well, it was when he hit the sales floor. Phones were ringing, energy was through the roof, and everyone was just kind of hustling like their lives depended on it. Now, quick disclaimer, let's ignore the fact that most of what he was doing in that film was slightly illegal. I'm not saying you should start cold calling random strangers and start selling them penny stocks, but you get my point. The point is this, if you don't. Jordan's business exploded because he didn't hide behind a computer messing around with his offer for the 67th time. He got out there, he talked to people, he built relationships, and he created momentum. But something that's really important to remember here is this isn't like your golden hours first thing in the morning where we mentioned you're locked in, you're doing deep work. This is your Wolf of Wall Street moment. This is where the magic happens. This is when you step into action, you connect with your audience, your leads, any potential clients that are on the cusp. So every afternoon, you need to get out there and step onto your own sales floor. Now, for you, maybe it's LinkedIn or Instagram, but you need to be starting conversations with all of the people that you might be able to help. One of our clients, George, literally does this every day, and he's generated £76,000 in revenue in 6 months. So now you've powered through your high leverage work. Great. And now you've refueled and you've been out on the sales floor in your Wolf of Wall Street moment. But what happens at the end of the day is arguably even more important, because this is where so many coaches quietly sabotage their progress. You probably know the moment at the end of the day where your brain is just fried and all you want to do is switch off. I've been there too. You close the laptop, grab your phone, maybe binge a Netflix series, and you tell yourself that I'll get organized first thing in the morning. But have you ever noticed that tomorrow just feels like deja vu? I've had those days where I just wake up and I start working and I realize I'm not even sure what actually grew my business yesterday. So if you don't do this next thing that I'm about to show you, you can end up trying new things every day and just getting in your own way. And if you're not careful, you can just end up burning time and energy. That's why the next phase is called the feedback loop. Now, this is super important, and I'm going to run through it very shortly. And if you start implementing this every single day, I promise you it will completely change how you operate as a business owner. So I want you to block out the final 30 minutes of your day where you literally close the loop on your day and you set yourself up to win the next day. So here's what you're going to do. So in these first 30 minutes, you're going to essentially reflect on your whole day. So I want you to reflect and I want you to ask yourself these few questions. Okay. So first one is, what were my top 3 high leverage activities? So think back to earlier on in your golden window with the first few hours of the day. What were your top 3 high leverage activities? The next question you're going to ask is, where did I waste my time? This one is so important. And then finally, I want you to write down what worked so well today that I should repeat it tomorrow. The best part is if you start to do this, you will start to stack better days on top of each other. And that's where the real growth happens. Because one thing that I've learned with successful people in business, these aren't successful because they grind harder. They're successful because they learn faster. Now, I know this is a lot of work. I know, because building a successful coaching business, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. But if you want to collapse time and see if we can help you to grow your coaching business to multi-6 figures, then I suggest you click this video here and we'll walk you through the entire breakdown.